We're here at 8 on this fine morning, man. So, as you see by the title, you know what kind of time it is, man. We're going to talk about the real. We're going to be realistic, and we're going to talk about free agency. I know that everybody is happy about the combine. They're happy about these prospects coming out. But with the kind of issues that the Dallas Cowboys have, they need proven veteran players to fill the roles and the needs that they have going forward. And if the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm going to give you my list of positions that they need to fill, if the Dallas Cowboys do not aggressively go out in free agency and try and fill these voids with veteran proven players, they would have failed in the offseason. They would have failed in the offseason if they do not go and upgrade these positions of needs that I'm going to go through. I'm going to give you the positions, I'm going to give you why, right? And then, we'll just go from there. But everybody, on your way in, please go ahead, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. I am trying to get the channel up to 1,000 subscribers so I can get this thing monetized. And then once that happens, I'll be able to reinvest, more back into the platform. And I'll be able to bring out better quality content. If that happens. So please hit the subscribe button if you have not already done so. Also, I will be adding the Cash App into the chat. So you have it on your heart to give, it will be there for you to do so. And there it goes. Hennythemoor. And I'm pinning it to the top. So with that said, let's really just jump right into it, man. Let's just jump right into it. So the Dallas Cowboys have been one of the cheapest teams overall, over the past couple of seasons. They're 31st in total spending in the National Football League. And that's not just with free agency, that's with their own players. Right? So they don't pay free agents, and for the most part they do not even pay their own players. So with that said, the Dallas Cowboys will have to take a drastically different philosophical stance this year if we want to actually be contenders for a championship. Right? You cannot expect a bunch of kids to come in and put you over the top. That's not how teams have been winning championships. That's not how teams have been getting to the championship game. Look no further than a team like the Los Angeles Rams. They went out, they traded for Matthew Stafford, they gave Cooper Cup an extension, they brought in Odell Beckham Jr. Once they lost one of their key contributors in Robert Woods, they went out and signed Allen Robinson. They brought in Bobby Wagner. Traded for Jalen Ramsey. They made a bunch of roster moves that put them over the top as an organization, as a franchise. Right? Look no further than the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017. They filled their roster up with good quality free agents. You know, I know that you know, what was the boy name? He on tip of my tongue. He used to play for Chicago. Alshon Jeffrey. I know that he wasn't the best wide receiver in the world, but at the time, Alshon Jeffrey was the best wide receiver on the market in free agency. They went and added him. They went and added other key contributors to that team. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went out and got Tom Brady. Went out and got all these other pieces. Brought in Antonio Brown. Brought in a gang of players to contribute. They did not rely on rookies. They did not rely on garbage bin players who are has-beens or washed up. That's not how they built their team. But no, with all that being said, man, like I have the key positions that the Dallas Cowboys need to they need to go ahead and fix, and we'll go from there. We're gonna start with one of the most obvious ones, though. We're gonna start with cornerback position number two, and this is gonna be a big one because this is really a position of need that cost us games. When you think about how poorly a guy like Boss Man Fat came in and played, right? He came in gave up multiple touchdowns in the limited snaps that he was in the game. He started one game and he gave up two touchdowns in the quarter. Not the entire game. He gave up two touchdowns in a singular quarter in that Jacksonville Jaguars game, right? So, ever since Anthony Brown got hurt, I know a lot of people are not fans of Anthony Brown as a player, but Anthony Brown was a better contributor than these other guys were. And Anthony Brown is a guy that you do not know the status on. Anthony Brown is currently a free agent, and also Anthony Brown ruptured his Achilles. He has an injury that is not very easily, recovered from. It's an injury that's going to take some time, and he is currently not under contract. So even if the Dallas Cowboys wanted to be cheap, let's say the Dallas Cowboys wanted to do their usual thing, say they like their own guys and try and bring back Anthony Brown. Well, Anthony Brown probably won't be available to even play until the middle of the season. If we're being realistic, with an injury like that, Anthony Brown is probably nowhere close to playing right now. So you can't rely on Anthony Brown. And then all these other guys that filled in were not good enough to get it done. They just weren't, right? And there was a laundry list of guys that even played at cornerback two for you. At cornerback two last year, Anthony Brown played, then got injured. Nashawn Wright played. He was decent, but he wasn't very good. He gave up a bunch of yardage, right? Then you look at Boss Man Fat, got torched, gave up two touchdowns in the Jacksonville game. I believe he had a passer rate. When quarterbacks targeted him, they have over 100 passer rating. He was horrible. He was horrible. Xavier Rhodes played some snaps at cornerback two for you last year. DeRon Bland got kicked to the outside and played some cornerback two. That's when they tried Izzy and Kwame in the slot. Trevon Mullen, you know, career journeyman, played some cornerback two for you. Mackenzie Alexander played some cornerback two for you. So when you look in totality, there was like seven different defensive backs that got snaps at cornerback two last year. Seven different defensive backs, man. So there is no stability at that position right now. And if the Dallas Cowboys do not take the time to go out there and get somebody that could be a linchpin, that could play, multiple games on the other side of Trayvon Diggs with some consistency, then we're going to be in trouble. It's going to be a long season because peep this out. I know we didn't like Anthony Brown, but when Anthony Brown was healthy, he was the second most targeted cornerback in the National Football League. Before he got hurt, he was the second most targeted cornerback in the National Football League. Teams were not really targeting Trayvon Diggs like that. And after he started getting his hands on the ball, DeRon Bland was not getting that many targets either. So the safest place to go, like we got two ball hawks on the field, is away from them. And that meant Anthony Brown was being left alone on an island, being targeted a numerous amount of times. And he was a little shaky at points, but he held up admirably, right? So when he was gone, right, all those targets were going against. They were still targeting cornerback two position even when he was gone though. And that's where you saw the big plays. That's where you saw the breakdowns and chunk plays and coverage, right? That's how Nashawn Wright was getting torched, in the Tennessee game. That's why a guy like Boss Man Fat was getting torched in the Jacksonville game. They were actively targeting cornerback two because that was the weakest link in the defensive secondary. Dallas should address their below average play at the quarterback position. If there was below average play at the quarterback position, we would have an issue. But since my quarterback is literally top 10 all time in major passing statistics, I'm not worried about that. The man that won 61 games in the National Football League. We will be fine at quarterback. All right. So back to what I was saying about cornerback two. And listen, this is not asking for a lot. I'm not asking the Dallas Cowboys to go get a player that is comparable to Trayvon Diggs. I'm not asking them to even trade for Jalen Ramsey. I'm asking them to go and get a starting caliber cornerback opposite. We do not need, we don't necessarily need the best available cornerback. We just need a cornerback better than what we have on the roster, right? If he can be better than an injured Anthony Brown, I need him. If he can be better than Nation Wright, I need him. If he can be better than Fat, I need him. And then you talk about these other guys. Deron Bland does not need to play outside corner. He is too good of a slot cornerback, right, to be forced to play on the outside because the front office is too incompetent to address our positions of need. So I do not want Deron Bland playing cornerback too. Like he is great. Like he's played well enough at slot to take Jordan Lewis' job. Like Jordan Lewis is probably going to get cut because of how well that boy Deron Bland has played. Like I fully expect Jordan Lewis to be a cap casualty this offseason because of the play of Deron Bland. Cornerback two has always been a proverbial blinking check engine light. Even with a fully healthy AB, without him, it was a full fledged blinking red pullover. I agree. And listen, I think I'm a little bit higher on Anthony Brown than a lot of people are because he has filled in admirably, for us. He has played, he has been solid. If you look at the advanced metrics, especially in 2021, he was your best cover corner. But we that is an area that we can improve on, right? Like we can get a bigger corner. And listen, you got the most out of Anthony Brown that you could ever hope to get out of Anthony Brown. You got Anthony Brown in the sixth round in 2016. And listen, he had to be a starting cornerback, you know, almost from the beginning in 2016. So he was taking his lumps, he was taking his bruises. He did not actually have time to sit back and learn. Anthony Brown, was created through baptism by fire, and he stayed down. He developed, a little bit every year, and he gotten up to this point. I'm not saying he's the best cornerback in the world, but for a sixth round pick, being able to start for you for the last 7 years or so, you got everything you can ask for Anthony Brown. So I'm not mad at him by any stretch of the imagination. But that is a position we can improve on, especially since he's going to be injured. Michael Lockhart, what's up with you, man? I appreciate you for tapping in with me. I definitely appreciate you for coming over here on this fine Sunday morning and rocking with your boy. But yeah, but it's an area we can improve on. So we spoke on in length about the cornerback position. For y'all who are late and do not know this, I'm gonna say this again. There were 7 different cornerbacks that took snaps at cornerback two last season. Anthony Brown, who was originally the starter, Nashawn Wright, Boss Man Fat, Xavier Rhodes, Deron Bland, Trayvon Mullen, and Mackenzie Alexander. Hey, Anthony, I appreciate you for the compliment, Ken Folk. I thank you. So you had a rotating door, right? You had 7 different guys play cornerback two for you because you did not know what you needed to do. When Anthony Brown went down, there was no real depth. There was nobody ready to step up and fill his shoes, right? So you tried everything. And again, I do not want to run Bland playing outside corner because he's too good as a slot. He's too good as a slot. His production came in the slot. Leave him there. Do not subject him to putting out bad film because you, as a front office, are too incompetent to get a real boundary corner out there. All right. So now that we spoke on that, I've spoken that for close to 14, 15 minutes or so. Let's talk about the wide receiver position. CD Lamb is good. CD Lamb is fine. CD Lamb is an 88. CD Lamb is the number one receiver, right? We could put all the other, you know, conjunction and speculation to bed. He proved that. Had over 1,300 yards, made an all pro selection. CD Lamb is that dude. But everybody else behind him did not perform. Everybody else behind him, failed the Dallas Cowboys. Let's just be honest about this. The there is a valley in between CD Lamb and then the next wide receiver. It's a huge valley. In 2021, we did not have that gap. In 2021, we still had Amari Cooper on this team. We had CD Lamb. Cedric Wilson was playing very well. And then you didn't even really miss Michael Gallup being out because of the production of those 3 wide receivers right there. But now that you look at these wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 position, It's leaving a lot to desire at this moment in time. I know a lot of people are very high on Michael Gallup. I'm not. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never wanted Michael Gallup to get a second contract with the Dallas Cowboys. It made more sense to keep Amari Cooper and restructure his deal. He ended up restructuring his deal with the Cleveland Browns anyway. So that it is what it is. They're looking at Jackson Smith from Ohio State, a wide receiver. And listen, I like him. He's a great route runner. He's a boy that is from the Dallas area, Texas kid. I like him. But when we're talking about competing for a championship, you got to bring in some guys who are down, who have been there before. Henny, how many years has Dak counted over 20 million against the cap in his 7 years? Answer is one. When has the cap? He was on the cap. Stephen Jones sucks at his job and blames everything on the guy he was overlooking. Shaking my head. Teams realized lockdown or impede CD Lamb. Cowboys pass game was struggle. Teams knew MG3 was not completely healthy. Single him up. I believe that. And this the thing about Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup has not been healthy in the last two seasons, right? Because remember, in 2021, he played the first game. He had an injury. I don't remember if it was a hamstring or a lower body injury. I do not remember, but he missed a lot of time. He came back, and then he tore his ACL in the Arizona game. Hey, Desmond Ironman, what's up with you? I appreciate you tapping in with me. But yeah, man. So he barely played in 2021. Fast forward, he missed the beginning of this season, and he was obviously hobbled throughout the course of the season because he was recovering from that ACL injury. Then he had a procedure to clean up some stuff in his other leg, this offseason. So listen, I understand the injuries are part of the game. Michael Gallup seems like a very good guy, but I have to get more. I have to get more for my wide receiver two position. But listen to this. I looked at this stat. No wide receiver on the Dallas Cowboys outside of CD Lamb had over 600 yards receiving last year. Right? Not Noah Brown, not Michael Gallup, not T.Y. Hilton, who was in here for a cup of coffee. Jalen Tolbert barely got on the field. So you got no production from any wide receiver not named CD Lamb. CD Lamb had 1,300 yards, right? I think the wide receiver with the most receiving yards, outside of him was Noah Brown. Noah Brown was your second leading receiver on the season. And Noah Brown only had what? Let me pull up his stats. And Noah Brown was your second leading receiver with 555 yards. Now, technically, Dalton Schultz, who everybody wants to let walk, was your second leading receiver, right? Because he had 577 yards. But we're just talking about wide receivers. I'm not looking at the production of the tight ends. I'm not looking at the production of the running backs because, crazy enough, two of your top five guys in receiving yards were not wide receivers. Your second guy in receiving yards last year was Dalton Schultz, as I just stated, and then the guy who was fifth on your team with receiving yards was actually Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard had 371 yards receiving. So how in the hell do you expect us to go out there and compete with that, right? And listen, quarterbacks are going to miss throws and things like that because even the best season, right? I think the best season in NFL history was like 75, like a 75 completion percentage for a season, I believe, right? I think the guy with the highest completion percentage for a career is 70%. But that's still, if you're taking like a standardized test, that's still only a C, right? So guys always miss throws. I think it gets highlighted more with the Dallas Cowboys. They had that same narrative with Tony Romo, even though Tony Romo, like for his career, completed 65% of his passes. Dak Prescott for his career, His completion percentage put him number 8 all time in completion percentage right now. So like guys miss throws all the time. However, what the Dallas Cowboys can do is improve the weapons around the quarterback. Right, there should not be that big of a delta in between. Right, in between your wide receiver one and the next guy. Like, how in the hell do the Dallas Cowboys have an All Pro wide receiver, right, and CD Lamb get 1,300 yards, and then the next guy in the receiving core only has 555 yards? That's stupid. There's no other team that is competent and is actually out here competing for a championship that's going further than us and all these other things that has their wide receiving core set up like that. The Eagles are a run first team, and they still went out there and got Devontae Smith, who was one of the only wide receivers in NCAA history to win a Heisman, and then they added, AJ Brown, who was also a top draft pick and already a perennial Pro Bowl wide receiver, right? So they added him to the mix, and listen, they were already and they are a run heavy team. They're like the team that runs. If I'm not mistaken, they had the most rushing attempts of any team in the NFC. So like even a run first team like them has better wide receiver weapons than we do. If you go and look at San Francisco, who is also a run dominant team, they have much better skill position players. Ayuk had over 1,000 yards receiving this year. Debo Samuel, when healthy, has already proved that he is consistently an all pro level player. So when you look around at the other teams in the NFC, like the teams that actually made it farther than us in the NFC anyway, they have a good wide receiving core. They have good weapons. There's not a steep drop off in between the one and the two. Most good teams who look to throw have 2,000 yard wide receivers to give them balance. If not, they have three with at least 800. Can't have just yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Like you have to have a litany of weapons in this league. Like even the teams that are pass heavy or run heavy, they have to have receivers to stretch the field. Because when it is time to throw the ball, and you have earned the right to throw the ball down the field from play action and get those chunk plays, you need dynamic players to make those plays. You need dynamic players to make those plays. And that is something the Dallas Cowboys do not have outside of CD Lamb. It cannot continue to be CD Lamb or bust. And right, to double down on that, the wide receiving core outside of CD Lamb were were 30th in separation. They were 30th in separation. So that's why Dak Prescott had to complete so many tight window throws. It's not because Dak Prescott was out there threading the needle, right? He wasn't out there trying to be Peyton Manning or force too many balls. Just these guys are not open. They're not getting a lot of separation on these routes. So it is always, you know, a chore just trying to get a completion in this offense with the personnel that we have. And then let's go even further. Like we're not happy with Noah Brown, right? We're not really happy with Noah Brown, even though he played the best season of his career. I know that it's a position that we can actually improve on, right? But you know, he's not even under contract anymore. So instead of re-signing Noah Brown, the Dallas Cowboys should go out and try and get an upgrade over Noah Brown. You can't move Michael Gallup because of his contract. It's too big of a dead money hit. The out in Michael Gallup's contract is not till 2024. So you're stuck with Michael Gallup. So CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup are going to be here. Both are under contract. You want CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. You're stuck with him because of you can't move his contract right now. No team is probably going to trade for him with the production that he put on tape the last two seasons. So you can't cut Michael Gallup. He has no real trade value right now because he's been injured, because he has not performed well on the field in the past two seasons. So you're stuck with Michael Gallup. The only thing you can hope for with Michael Gallup is that he rehabs, he comes back close to who he used to be, and that he can perform. Because realistically, Michael Gallup is going to be playing for his job in the 2023 seasons. The Dallas Cowboys can cut him in 2024 and can save over $9 million by doing so. Right. So they could save over $9 million by cutting Michael Gallup in 2024. So Michael Gallup is somebody that's really going to be playing for his job at this point. So hopefully with the added incentive to play well, with enough time to rehab, hopefully you see who Michael Gallup used to be. Because I used to like Michael Gallup, man. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying he's not the guy that a lot of people thought he was. He's not a guy that was worth letting Amari Cooper lead the building for either. Noah had a career year. Let him go find his bag. M313, feel for it because this is it for him. He had to show and prove this year. Yeah. Hey, Big Bug Cowboy. We were just up here talking about the positions of need the Dallas Cowboys got to address in order to actually be competent. Because listen, the way that they have been trying to build teams the last couple years has failed. It's failed. What the Dallas Cowboys have done, they went and they signed a bunch of no-name guys in free agency, and they filled their team with a bunch of rookies with potential, and that has not led to a championship. They have tried it this way for the last. I'm not even gonna say the full 27 years, right? I'm not gonna say the full 27 years, but at least the last 15 years, this is how the Dallas Cowboys has managed their roster, and it has not worked out. Right? That's why they're 30. That's why they're 31st in total spending. Right? That's why we have not been to an NFC Championship game. Since what 1995? It was 19, well, I think the year was 1996 actually because it was in January. It would have been a postseason game. So yeah, we haven't been to an NFC Championship since 1996 because of the way we've been trying to build these rosters. And if you're late coming into here, I already touched on one of the positions, right? I said cornerback two was a necessity. You had seven different guys, play at the cornerback two position. This is for everybody that's just now getting in here. Anthony Brown, Nashawn Wright, Joseph, Xavier Rhodes, Deron Bland, Trayvon Mullen, Mackenzie Alexander. So there's seven different guys that took snaps at cornerback two for you, right? Then Anthony Brown ruptured his Achilles. It's probably not going to be healthy anytime for the Cowboys to even consider re-signing him. So point being, they have to. Like that, cornerback two is the reason that you lost the Jacksonville Jaguars game. You got to address it so you could be in position to actually win the division next year. Henny, I was watching some combine highlights. As slow as Josh Ball feet are, guess who I saw run 4.8 in the 40? Avante Collins. That's what's up, man. And listen, he's still on the team. He signed a futures contract. So, I definitely would have him on the depth chart ahead of him. If a swing tackle has to come on the field, it should be Avante Collins. Josh Ball has proven that he is not right. He has proven that he is not that guy. Listen, Josh Ball was out there getting whooped by guys that probably do what I do right now. They probably do podcasts now. He was out there getting whooped by those guys. There's some guys that got CDLs right now that whooped up on Josh Ball in preseason. Hey, I appreciate you, Brian Kite. Yeah, we tried, man. We had a real good show last night. And, that's really why I had the idea to come out here and do a show like this. I'm not going to even, name free agents right now. We have a show coming up for that. But, I wanted to go back through the position of needs again and tell you why it's position of need in a little bit more detail. Right. I just saw a landlord video on Jerry talking about Dak and his money. Jerry be lying. We need to get Dak some help and not keep him out. Yeah, man. Like Dak Prescott has only cost $20 million or more against the cap one time, and that was when he played on the franchise tag, which they forced him to play on because he wanted a long-term deal. Because remember, Dak Prescott was a fourth-round rookie. The cap hit on his the first year of his career was like 500K. Second year was 600K. Third year was 800K. Fourth year was $2 million. So all in all, on his rookie deal alone, he only made $4 million. Right? If you do the math, that's only $4 million. Then when you look at he did sign his contract, first year of that contract was only $17 million against the cap. I know Skip Bayless on his show always like to say Dak Prescott made $80 million this year. He did, but only 17 of it went against the cap. He was pocket watching too hard because that signing bonus had nothing to do with the cap, right? So he needs to stop hating and let that man get his money. So $17 million against the cap. The last year he was only $19 million against the cap, and even this year coming up, they can reduce his cap hit and clear up $22 million just by giving Dak Prescott an extension. They make it harder than it has to be. They want players to jump through. They want the players to go out there, play football, put their body on the line and all this other stuff. Then they want them to come back in and help them play general manager. That is not what they're supposed to do. Dak Prescott and all these other players are supposed to get paid market value for what their services are. Right? None of these guys are asking for crazy money. They want market value at their positions. Right? And remember, because they bid it against themselves for 2 years, instead of signing Dak Prescott for $30 million, what was the market at the time when he came up to get signed, they ended up signing Dak Prescott for $40 million a year. What was the market at the time when he got signed by then? So the cap issues, the inability for them to build a roster is not on Dak Prescott because even when Dak Prescott was on a rookie deal, they did not put weapons around him. Tight end should be a check down option first. I had a problem when Witten was leading team every week in reception. It tells me what your wide receiver 1 and 2 is not getting done. Yeah, but another thing about that is like Jason Witten is always open. So he was a very quarterback friendly. Why should Dak do a team friendly deal? What listen, when Dak Prescott was making rookie fourth round pick money, they did not go out and sign any players. So why the hell would anybody on this team? Why would CD Lamb? Why would Dak Prescott? Why would any player take a team friendly deal when the Dallas Cowboys are 31st in spending? They do not add players in free agency. So why the hell are they going to take a pay cut? Why? They're not even putting a team around. They didn't put a team around these guys when Dak Prescott was making rookie money. When this man was making 600K, they did not go out there and put a team around him. They had him come into okay, but you're talking. Listen, if the front office was actually doing that, then these teams would do that. We're talking about reality. The reality is these are the players that the Dallas Cowboys have signed since 2016. Right? This is the reality. Listen, that is true. But the front office does not spend money. So why is it even why are we talking about people taking pay cuts when the front office is not going to spend it? Why are we talking about people taking pay cuts when the front office ain't going to spend no money, man? Like who had the front office signed that was a big name free agent in the last decade? In the last decade, who was the big name free agent the front office signed? Again, you talk about other teams. We'll talk about the Dallas Cowboys. I don't care what other teams did. Who has this front office signed for any player to feel comfortable giving them a pay cut? Who have they signed? Who have they signed? Nobody. They have signed nobody. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. We're talking about an irresponsible front office. Like Brady takes pay cuts because he was with Bill Belichick, and they had a good GM, and they were building a good team around him. He was winning championships, right? So he wanted to keep competing. He took a pay cut. We have not even sniffed an NFC championship game. We have not signed anybody of note, right? We have not signed. They took a restructure. Tyron and Zach took restructures, and technically, there's a relief on the salary cap, but they got their money. They want Dak to give them a deal. Hope Dak don't give them Rich Jones nothing. He don't need to give them nothing. For what? For what? Listen, I have the list of free agent signings since 2016. These are the guys that the front office have signed. Right? Alfred Morris, Benson Moyawa, Nolan Carroll, Stephen Paye, Coney Ely, Cedric Thornton, George Iloka, Randall Cobb, Kerry Hyder, Tavon Austin, Jamie Alawali, Jonathan Cooper, Everson Griffin, Andy Dalton, Darrell Worley, Alden Smith, Terry Poe, Ha Ha Clinton Diggs, Ron Curse, DeMonte Casey, Malik Hooker, Brent Urban, Carlos Watkins, Keanu Neal, Terrell Basham. So with that being said, right, with that being said, the Dallas Cowboys signed old or unproven players to their roster and have done so for the last 7 years. They are not signing superstars for us to be worried about cap space. If they listen, they're signing guys that are barely in the league right now. By the time they signed Everson Griffin, it was over with for him. Right? Darrell Worley has never been a good player. Then Terry Poe was well over the hill. Ha Clinton Dix barely even played for you. He got cut. Do they sign their own? Did they re-sign Byron Jones? No. They signed some of their own guys. That's true. They re-signed some of their own guys. And that's what Dak Prescott is one of their own, right? So that's why I don't feel he need to take a pay cut. They're not gonna bring any outside talent in, and all the guys that are currently on the roster, you can just give them extensions. You give them an extension, it just affects the salary cap down the line. Salary cap goes up every year. If you extend Trayvon Diggs right now while there's still a year left on his contract, you can push this stuff off. All right, that's cool. Most teams don't draft like the Dallas Cowboys do. But have us drafting well led to us winning a championship? Has it led to us winning a championship? Because listen, we put too much stock on kids. Because that's what these guys coming in are. They're kids. They people like they're prospects. They're kids. Some of the guys are 21 years old. Some of the guys were just eating free lunch. So you expect a kid, right? No matter the talent, you expect a kid to come into the NFL, right, and whoop up on grown men. That's the problem. That is the problem. It don't work like that most of the time. There are exceptions to the rule, but this is the thing: the Dallas Cowboys, like these generational talents, we got lucky to get Michael Parsons, right? We don't. We are usually so good in the regular season, and we usually make the playoffs or win a division, right? We consistently live in the range of going to the second round. Are you okay with getting 55 million dollars? Yeah, the market is what the market is. But listen, he was making $40 million a year and never once cost the Dallas Cowboys $40 million against the cap. Like the annual money doesn't matter to me. The money that is actually, going against the cap is what matters, right? Because listen, this is going to be the first year of this contract where he even going to be $40 million against the cap. First year was $17 million. The second year was $19 million. If they extend him, it won't even be $40 million this year. It'll be about $20 million against the cap. Even if the extension is let's say the extension is for $45 million to $50 million, right? The cap hit for the first couple of years is still going to be under 30 because you're paying him signing bonus up front, and then you're financing out the rest of the money over the course of the contract. So giving him an extension, you can lower the salary cap. It doesn't matter what it says on paper that he makes annually because the cap hits for each year can be structured to make the first couple of years cap friendly, and then if you like Dak Prescott, you can build in an out, or you can just extend them again, in the middle of the contract like it is right now. Dak Prescott has played 2 years on that 4-year deal already and has never cost $40 million against the cap. So you can manipulate the cap. This is the thing: the cap is made to be manipulated. It's just the Dallas Cowboys are the only team that never manipulates it in the way other teams do. That's why there's plenty of other of quarterbacks making $40+ million a year that have better weapons than we do, right? Because listen, Kyler Murray making $46 million a year. They got D Hop, they went and got Hollywood Brown, they got Ertz. No, they got a roster full of players, right? So there's ways to manipulate the cap. So his annual money does not matter to me. The only thing that matters to me is the cap hit. And so far, on a $40 million a year deal, he has not cost the team much money. Right? I think if you do the math, the last 2 years, Dak Prescott only got $36 million. He only counted $36 million against the cap the last 2 years combined. So annual money doesn't matter to me. How they structure the deal, what the cap hits are, is all that matters. So on paper, it can say $55 million. I don't care what the cap hits say. Let's see. They gave him almost half his contract as a bonus. Dak was never. Yeah, like he got a lot of money up front. A lot of money up front. I saw a summary of what Dak has been paid thus far on his new contract. Not one penny of it prevented Cowboys from spending money on new players acquisitions. Man, listen, Dak Prescott contract has never been a reason that Dallas Cowboys have not signed players, right? Because remember, in 2018, Dak Prescott only counted for 800,000 against the salary cap. They went into that season with Allen Hurns, Deontay Thompson, and a rookie Michael Gallup as their top three wide receivers. They had they had cut Dez Bryant and did nothing to fill the void. They brought in subpar players and expected Dak Prescott to make magic happen. So no, they went out there. They don't take this roster building stuff very seriously, man. They can't. They can't. Not with the way they've handled the wide receiver position. Right. And listen, I know it worked out this year, right? We got rid of Amari Cooper. Well, this is the thing. Dak Prescott can get an extension and still make $45 million and still clear a salary cap, right? If they extend him and it's $45 million annually, let's say they give him what Daniel Jones asked for. Let's say they give Dak Prescott $45 million. You still save $20+ million on the salary cap. Like extending Dak Prescott alone allows you to move the money around. So it doesn't matter if he actually takes a pay cut. As long as they did get the extension done, they cleared the salary cap space. Just like these guys taking restructures, they're not actually taking full on pay cuts. Like they're getting their damn money. They're just getting some part of that money up front in the form of a check or a direct deposit. I mean, they still won't stop us from team building, right? That's why I broke down the difference between what it says on paper annually and the cap hit. It's all good. J Cal just wants us to build an efficient team. I'm in the same boat as him. I want the Dallas Cowboys to build a good team, right? I want the Dallas Cowboys to go out, sign Bobby Wagner. He is my top free agent signing that I want for middle linebacker. Since my first choice was actually to run Payne on the defensive side, but since he got tagged, Bobby Wagner is the guy that I really want to man the middle of the defense. And they also are saying that Zeke, and this is the thing, like I think we confuse pay cut and restructure, right? Because if they come to Zeke, like because Zeke counts $16 million against the salary cap. If Zeke just restructures, let's say they give Zeke $8 million of his money up front in the form of signing bonus, he's taking a pay cut on paper, right? He got $8 million in the bank in one day. Does not go against the salary cap, and then he'll be playing for $8 million, this year instead of $16 million. That's pretty much how that works. Like they're taking a pay cut on paper because it says the cap hit is lower, but in terms of the actual money, they still get their money. Brady never took a salary cut. He restructured and originally took team friendly deals. Team friendly deals is how you get to stay a long time in there. SoCal cool, man. He's a fan. He's a fan like all the rest of us, man. He ain't been disrespectful. He ain't been anything. He just stating his opinion and how he feels about a certain thing, so he can rock, man. We're not always going to agree on different topics. Like I didn't agree with my cousin West Coast last night about Tyron Smith. I want Tyron Smith out the door because he ain't played. West Coast and landlord want him to rock some more. So we all feel the way we feel for certain reasons, right? And the reason we feel these way are not necessarily wrong. We just because like they said though, Tyron Smith is still Tyron Smith when he plays, right? He's still one of the better left tackles in the National Football League when he plays, and they don't think it's fair for him to go out playing right tackle without getting a chance to play left tackle. I agree with that. I agree with both of those points. He should have went back to left tackle when he got out there, right? He should have went back to left tackle, and when he's healthy, he's one of the better guys on the field. My issue is that he has only played 17 games in the last 3 seasons, right? I cannot. Tyron Smith is good for a guest appearance at this point in his career. He's good for a guest appearance. So it's all love, SoCal. It's all good, my brother. Dak practically made his money off the field up until now. Now he's the ones that got to run his pockets after all the injuries, giving up his health and well-being and his fan base. Well, the front office is really the one that they even said anything, right? Jerry Jones is the one that's really wild. Jerry Jones is the one for even insinuating the reason that he can't build a roster is because of Dak Prescott's contract. MSC, what's up with you, man? I'm glad you're rocking with your boy. Glad you're rocking with your boy. So yeah, he's the one that's wrong for even insinuating that. But because it's not true. Like we can all look at the cap hits, we can all look at the free agent signings, right? We're all smart. We're all smart Dallas Cowboys fans. So yeah, man. Yeah, football never stops. Yes, sir. It never do stop. Never stops. Got to keep rocking. Got to keep rocking. Cowboy haters. Oh, Cowboy. Hey, that's a throw. Hey, man, that's a throw handle. Cowboy hater hunter. I like that, Kinfolk. Henny, Dak, and Zeke have never had Tyron for a full season. Yeah, that is crazy when you put that into context. Yeah, JJ did do this. JJ talks too much, man. JJ talking entirely too much. But yo, let's talk about the next position. Cause I think we all feel like wide receiver is definitely an area we can improve on. I know CD Lamb is not a guy we can improve over, right? But everybody else, hell yeah. Finally, defensive tackle. Defensive tackle is definitely a position that we have to address in free agency. I know the run pain got franchise tags, so he's off the board. But listen, this defense has one Achilles heel. We cannot consistently stop the run. If you cannot stop the run, right, you cannot win games. 2018, we beat Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, ran up against the Rams, and they put almost 300 yards on the ground up on us. Right? They ran us off the field literally. 49ers in 2021 ran us off the field, had almost 200 yards rushing. So, when we lose games, it's generally in the same manner. Like our team is fast. We're good at getting out the passer. The back end can cause turnovers, right? Like we cause havoc. We're quick, but we're undersized. And when you're undersized up front, those undersized defensive tackles we have get washed away, right? They get manhandled in the run game. So if we're going to fix the defense, and that's the only real glaring issue on the defense outside of cornerback, outside of your second cornerback position, right? Because you got pass rushers, you got playmakers that can turn the ball over. You do not have good run stoppers. You do not have any run stoppers. What's up with you, Darren Sutton? I appreciate you, man. Top of the morning to you too, my brother. So yes, while we have pass rusher stuff, we need to address that. Run defense, we were not very good, right? Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you the exact rankings because we were subpar in run defense. Run defense, we were not that good, kinfolk. So let's take a look. These players put their life and health on the line, and Jerry, his cheap ass son, know that this, but they want them to play for nothing. Bobby wanted to play for them last year, and they lowball him. Facts. And this was crazy is Bobby only played for $10 million a year anyway. So it's not like he played for a ton of money. All right. So last year the Dallas Cowboys were 18. 19, 20, 21. The Dallas Cowboys were the 22nd run defense in the National Football League. Dallas Cowboys gave up 2,198 yards on the ground. That is not a championship run defense. And really, that is also the reasons why the Philadelphia Eagles lost in the Super Bowl. Like the Kansas City Chiefs run game showed up. I think they rushed for almost as many yards as they passed for. Right. I know part of it was the scrambling ability of Patrick Mahomes, but they came back to bite the Eagles. The Eagles were not a good run defense either. They were a middle of the pack run defense that gave up over 2,000 yards as well. Right. And then when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they were actually one of the better run defenses in the National Football League. You can say what you want about the Chiefs passing defense, about the young guys back there, but they were a top 10 run defense. They were a top 10 run defense. Only gave up 1,800 yards on the season on the ground. Right. So when you look at different things like that, you need to start up front with the defensive tackle. It makes things easier for your linebackers, right? Because a big nasty in front, right? And this is and I get this from guys like Ray Lewis himself. Like Ray Lewis, like his front office came to him and they asked Ray Lewis what he actually needed to succeed. He said he needed a big nasty in front of him, right? So that's when they went out and got Holotinata. I know y'all might not remember Holotinata, but like he was a bad man. But the Ravens brought in Holotinata, like he was a key contributor on all of the defenses, and he was one of the reasons why they were able to win their second Super Bowl. So a big nasty, big run stopping defensive tackle in the middle of the defense make life easy for everybody. Make life easy for everybody, man. So yes, we definitely need to go out and get somebody that can help sure up the middle of the defense, right? So if we do that, our we will be better. We'll be much better. Your linebackers will play better. Henny, I love it when you give the numbers because that's the facts about our front office and their low balling at. Yeah, man. You can't you can't be a bottom spending team, right? You can't be a bottom spending team in all aspects. Like you're bottom all the way around. You don't really resign your players at market value. You don't spend any money in free agency. Like you can't keep shopping. Listen, you can't shop at the dollar store, right? And back to school shopping and try to be the freshest guy in the high school. You can't go to the dollar store and get your shoes and your pants and your belt and try to go out here and be the freshest dude in high school. You got to at least go to Ross, right? You got to at least go to Ross. You may not have to go to Saks Field. But you got to at least go to Ross, get some drip. I definitely want to get Bobby Wagner. Now he's gonna, and listen, Bobby Wagner has a twofold effect. Signing Bobby Wagner, you can allow your safeties to play safety again. To run Curse and the boy Donovan Wilson were playing a lot of big nickel for you in the box, right? They were getting dinged up, having to go against guards and things like that. That allows them to play safety again, right? It allows the other linebackers in your linebacker room to learn from an all-pro player who has Super Bowl pedigree, has been playing long 10 years in the postseason before, right? And listen, Bobby Wagner is a Hall of Famer. Like LVE, he made an All Pro team his rookie year, whatever. He's not the same pedigree or the same ilk as a guy like Bobby Wagner. That lot of money for a vet playing swing tackle and on the back nine of his career. I'm not a pocket watcher. Yeah, yeah. I don't really want to bring in. Probably fan base hates Zeke too, Johnny. Henny, do you think we should just get rid of Zeke in 20 and get two brand new running backs in his draft? I wouldn't. I don't want that much turn. I don't want that much turnover because Zeke is from most accounts, like I think they're going to work out something with Zeke to retain him. Right? He did give you 12 rushing touchdowns. I would just keep Zeke and Tony Pollard running back. I just think if you use them more wisely, that you will get better results from them. Like if the offensive line is healthy, I think Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott will be productive. And if Zeke Elliott stays healthy, I think he could be productive. Because like he was averaging like 4.4 yards a carry before his lower leg injury in the Detroit game. Did he miss 2 games? And this is the thing, like because we're splitting carries, like they want to run a two back system anyway here. So because the guys are going to be splitting carries, I don't have to actually go out and invest in a top running back, right? Because Derrick Henry, let's say he hits the open market, he gets cut or something. He's a guy that's been averaging 29 rushing attempts a game. So for I can't even trust Derrick Henry to be Derrick Henry on 15 carries. Because that's what Zeke Elliott is averaging. That's what Tony Pollard is averaging, about 15 carries a game. So I know right now that they both can work good in tandem together. I don't know that about the next tandem of running backs that I bring in. So just don't change it. Yeah, and because you have one of the worst run pass blocking offensive lines in the National Football League, you know this may not be the case for other teams, but on our team, you actually need that Ezekiel Elliott as a pass blocker. We definitely need to add players. But yeah, I would actually at this moment in time I would keep Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. Right, I think Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys will work out a restructure. I hope that the Dallas Cowboys do not do something stupid like tagging Tony Pollard and giving him $10 million guaranteed up front, right? Because that's the dumbest thing they could possibly do. Also, would you bring back Cedric Wilson, wide receiver, because he would be a big upgrade? I definitely would bring back Cedric Wilson because he already has a good rapport with Dak Prescott, right? He has a great rapport with Dak Prescott. He'd be productive in this offense. So I definitely would do so in a heartbeat. Cause you gotta think about it. Like he would be definitely be an upgrade over Noah Brown. Like nobody in this chat, I don't believe, thinks he is a better Noah Brown is a better player. I don't think anybody thinks that. I don't think anybody thinks that. So yeah, but yeah, Cedric Wilson is a guy I would take. I would definitely bring him back. I would go out the way and sign DJ Chart. I would do. There's a lot of things I would do to improve our wide receiving core. But yeah, but definitely defensive tackle though, because like defensive tackle helps so much. But yeah, guys, hey, I appreciate you for tapping in with me. Go over to Landlord's channel. I'm finna jump in with Kinfolk and finish the show out with him. So we're gonna just segue over there. Uh, he may or may not be able to get it up on here, but it's all good. Just go over there, support us over there on that channel. Uh, so y'all know what to do. I appreciate y'all for everything, man. I will get at y'all in a little bit. So just follow us over there at Landlord channel. I'm finna jump on with Kinfolk.